All right. Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to the Rule of Thirds podcast on the Bold and Break channel, where I interview creatives and we just deep dive into their stories. For those of you who are here for the first time, today our guest is none other than the good-looking Joladé. For those of you who don't know Joladé, he's more than just a creative. He's also an incredible spoken word artist. He's done events such as Outspoken and So Far Sounds. Alongside his poetry, he's also a filmmaker and director and a documentary maker, working on projects with commercial clients like Bentley, Pantene, FIFA, ID. And alongside of that, he's also done a documentary on the Sudanese revolution, which I'm
Mm,
sure we'll get into and talk about at some point. Alongside of all of this stuff, he's also done a lot of commissioned photography work with the likes of Samuel L. Jackson, Waitrose, Red Bull Music, and various others. You've got a huge, huge body of work, Joladé. So, I'm really
mm.
excited to kind of get in and talk about it. But welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, bro. It's good to see you again after all these years. And what? That's a crazy intro. I was like, holy, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm like, where did you even find all this stuff in the first place? Like,
Man, I do my research. I do my research. Um,
damn.
yeah, just starting off though. But like, how have you been? What have you been up to the last couple of months? How's the beginning of this year been for you so far? I know coming up to April now, so yeah,
Mm,
be good to just
yeah.
hear what you've been up to.
Bless you, bro. Yeah, bless you for real. How have I been? Yeah, I've been good. I've had a very interesting start to the year, as many will probably say in their own right. In terms of just like calibrating, recalibrating, and starting from scratch in many ways, but generally a needed start to the year. And it's getting busier, I guess, when after the initial Christmas slump on there, everyone spent their money. Now the emails are coming for like, hey, are you free for this? Okay, great. We might be back in business. So just kind of gearing up for as things increase. But I'm good. I'm good, man. I'm happy to see you and talk to you, bro. For real.
Yeah, it's been a good few years. I guess
Yeah.
most of our guests, or I guess most guests don't even know who I am, let alone who you might be. So, but like me and Geladi have connected years and years ago through parkour industry. That's more of a
Yeah.
story for
Yeah.
for another time. We just worked for the same organization back in the day where we were young
Yeah.
young boys jumping around and
Yeah.
crazy things. But yeah, I
I'm
mean,
trying to get back into it. Not the
yeah.
organization, by the way, but I've been on my mind to like I go to the Super XXL Jam once in a while. It's been a while,
Bliss.
and I still follow the account on Insta, so it's like
Mm.
I'm still trying to get back out there. But yeah, that's how
Yeah,
we know each other. It's been
yeah. Long.
2009 or something like that.
I'm gonna say 10. I'm gonna say 10 and we probably met.
Fair
No,
enough.
but, yeah, I mean, the Super Excel stuff, they're doing, really cool stuff at the moment. That channel's kinda taken off. It's crazy to see
It's
it,
taken
but
off.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's good,
yeah.
it's good. Yeah, I will eventually turn up one day, when
Would love
Zahara's a
to
bit
see you,
older, I
bro.
think. Yeah, definitely. Um, but yeah, I mean, you've mentioned you're kinda, like, getting busier with work now. What kind of work are you doing at the moment? Is it photography stuff? Is it on the poetry side of things?
That's a really good question. So different things. So more on the creative consultancy route these days. So I'm a director, by virtue of me directing films and commercials and documentaries. And I guess in some way I was oblivious to the fact that as a director, you kind of become a creative consultant because you're helping people and brands find the best way to strategize their concept and tell a story. So I've been seeing a lot of my work lean into that for like a lot of people and brands who need like a strategy or a way of getting people to buy into their story. And I guess for me that works because I love bringing feeling to stories, and it's not about being viral. It's about, how do we make it really just sit with people so it has an effect. So there's a lot of that going on, conversations around stuff that I may end up directing to,
Mm.
because sometimes it's like, great, you made the idea. Now, can you make it? It's like, yeah, sure, why not? Photography is more a personal hobby, even though I used to do it for work many years ago. Occasionally I lend it out to projects, but I've got a photography book coming out later this year. Finally, my publisher's really been patient with me. So there's that. Poetry too. We've got a poetry pamphlet coming out. We've outspoken, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, they're publishing my pamphlet, which is like a mini collection of poems in July. hopefully. And what else am I doing? Community work, man. A lot of my work is community. So working with charity, just send a few boards. I also just give a
Mm,
lot of time to creative schools, doing like master classes and stuff for like people that want to get into like filmmaking and the arts, and I mentor young people in those fields too as much as I can. And I say that to mean to the best of my ability. So all these different things amongst writing as well, writing scripts, stories, because I'm a writer, that's my core. Those are the things that fill different parts of my week.
mm.
um, and like all that good stuff. So yeah, man, that's what I'm up to these days.
You sound like a really busy guy. Um,
I mean, as long as
how
you've known me, I think it's always been this.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. How, firstly, how do you feel like you find time and, like, are able to do so many different creative fields, like, be involved in all of them? And also,
Mm.
how did you kinda discover all of these fields? How did you get into it? Could you talk about that?
Okay, two interesting questions. How do I find time? I have routines now. I try my best to have routines. I used to hate them when I was younger. I used to be like, oh, routines are for boring adults, man. Live life, spontaneity. That was my early parkour days. Like, yeah, man, like I'm gonna get out and train, for a whole day and not really care. It's like, actually, we got things to do. But also to that point, if I want to make time to train, so I go to the gym every morning. Um, most mornings now because like it's more for mobility and it reminds me of like functional fitness, like Blaine used to talk about back in the day. It's more about that
Mm,
now, and I love being able to have that hour or two in the morning.
yeah,
So I'm able to juggle by having routines now. It's like cool. I'm gonna spend today writing or tomorrow, and I use calendars a lot. So my calendars are my lifeline in terms of what's coming up, so I don't end up trying to do too many things at once. And I guess to answer your second question, actually to finish the first question, I make time based on things that are important to me again, so like the gym, but also community. And my community, I also meet family and friends. And also I work in my church as well as like I work in the AV department, audio visual department. By virtue of my skill set, it's something that I make time for as well. So these are all places I love to be, and it means that I don't allow work to get in the way of those things. So it means I stop work by a certain time, even though I work for myself. It's like cool. Nope, not working after this time, not working on weekends, unless you're really trying to pay me a good amount of money. And even then, it's like, okay, is the work actually worth doing? Is it really for me? And then to answer your second question, um, what kind of got me into this?
yeah,
I guess um, I've hmm, I've always been a storyteller at heart, I think, and I knew that from when I was a kid. When I grew up in London, but moved to Nigeria as a kid, came back as a teenager, and I think Nigeria is where my storytelling ambitions were born. Just like building stories out of nowhere, like imagination, like writing stuff, and I love books. Still love books. Like I've got a lot of books to write. Like I just love books. And everything I do is an extension of that. It's literally just me telling stories. So all my poetry, all my scripts, my films, the documentaries I get to tell, stories, whether they're mine or other people's stories, the storytelling. And even with the creative consultancy, that for me is just like the back end of it, like how to identify the story and find the best way to tell it. In the same way I have like photography, film, poetry as mediums of storytelling, consultancy is the same thing. It's like, okay, we find a story, then find out which medium is the best one for it, if not all of them. So storytelling is what got me into all of this at different points, finding sometimes accidentally, or maybe it's the hand of God, most likely the hand of God saying, and I'm going to divert you here as well. And he's like, oh, well, I guess there we are. And, a camera is just another pen, I guess, and just going with that. So storytelling is the core, and still is the ambition
yeah,
or what that drives me. And then through that, wanting to, through the travels I've been blessed to experience in my work, seeing the power of storytelling in the way it connects us. And I know it sounds very buzzwordy what I've said, but it's the truth. Like stories do connect. So as far as like the hieroglyphics, you know what I'm saying? Like, they connect us. And I've been fortunate to see how people come together in storytelling, not just in the hearing of the story, but in the telling of it too. So, production crews and so the back end and the front end in I guess in the developer way of saying things. And I love that point of connection. And I want to see that, because in the world the world as it is very connected, in the way that you might imagine I'm about to say, for the digital age, but also very disconnected in terms of the person next to me. And when you go to an exhibition, like that is where you get to see connection, where two strangers are looking at a painting, or one might say inadvertently, "Wow," obviously I know, right? And it's like a conversation's happened through that, because of that thing. And I'm trying to not trying to bring it back, because I don't think it's gone, but I'm trying to incubate that feeling through my process and the stories I tell. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, no, I hear you, man. Connection's a big thing. I think my wife, she's a writer as well. I don't know if you know
Oh,
this,
dope.
but
Oh, he said to me a time ago, yeah.
yeah, yeah. She was talking to me recently about something she wants to write, where it's how in our current kind of like day and age, we've kind of lost the ability to touch another human being, and you pay
Mm.
people to be able to touch you, whether it's like, a massage, or like, going for like a pedicure or whatever it may be. And like we've kind of lost this platonic way of touching that we used to have like within communities
Mm.
before, where your like grandmother would like oil your hair or whatever it may be. And I thought that was like a really kind of interesting thing. So yeah, it's
Mm.
interesting that you also kind of like resonate with that and like have that community aspect of like, yeah, community is important. Like that's definitely what I'm trying to build out as well, and trying to work towards. Because yeah, I mean, the Parker generation say, when we used to have a community, it's kind of all gone now. So it's
Mm.
about building the right community for yourself.
Yeah.
But that was cool, man. I mean, yeah, talk to me a little bit about some of the work you were doing when you were like out there, out and about traveling. Like, what was that like? What was it about? Was this always with the documentary side of things, or is this more so with the like brand and storytelling side, like the more the commercial work? And how did those two worlds kind of come about? Because they almost seem
Mm.
at odds with one another. Because I feel like brands sometimes are very much about themselves, and your documentary is meant to be about like whatever the topic may be, but it's about
Yeah.
bringing people together and people understanding each other.
Yeah. 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 I think they can be about themselves, and some brands less so, than others. Some not at all. Some brands are literally community. That's their thing. But I also get it, because brands have to be about themselves because of who they serve, the employees, stakeholders, and then some. So, it's not all, I know you're not saying this, it's not all insidious or ominous, but sometimes it really can be. And I know I've experienced that. I've experienced pretty much a lot, not all, because I've not necessarily traversed, even saying traversed takes me back to parkour days, where like I've not traversed the entirety of the scene. I don't think I've used that word since the days of parkour, if I'm honest with you. See
Yeah.
what happens when we connect, it's crazy. Um but yeah, but so like those days were very interesting. They were very, very interesting. I was having this moment of everything changed when the Fire Nation attacks, and the Fire Nation being the pandemic. Like I miss those days a lot, because being on the road, very tiring, very, very tiring. I will not lie. People would often think I'm living the life. Like, you're never around, and you must be living. I said, no, it's not. It's not this cushy thing. It's, you know, but it was a rough but glorious time that I would do again, and it built character. So even beyond the work, it just built a lot of character. But it also really got me to meet people and meet cultures I never thought I'd meet in my life. And it gave me a world of access, literally. Like, there are places in the world I can go to and not have a problem, because I know people there now. Like, it's like I have a place to stay. And that wasn't the thing I knew I was going to get. Like, even our friends, like, I've run into friends in different countries when I've been doing jobs. I'm like
Mm.
Mehdi. I've run into Mehdi in Paris, no, in Barcelona, and in New
Yeah.
York. It's like, huh? Like,
Yeah.
what? And to have that career that has given me that kind of passport it's a privilege that I don't take lightly. And I treat it with more responsibility now. But I kind of got into it through my own work. Like, I wasn't traveling for myself. I wasn't traveling at all. really. Apart from a few trips with friends when we'd like pour money together and go places. And I was broke when I did it. I was like, vibes. Let's just go. Um, got depth, but zero regrets. It is what it is. I wouldn't advise anyone to do that, by the way. Be wise, please. But when I was doing my own work in the early days, I guess my own poetry stuff or photography, I would get random people DMing me from different parts of the world. I remember this one guy from South Africa DM me and said, "Look, I love love what you did, your poetry from your photography. Can you like, we want someone to direct something for us here. Can you do that?" And I'm like, what, me? Like I'm not anyone viral. I don't have a following. Like if you look at my following now, it's in the scheme of what I've done, it's very, very modest. It's on I think what are we at 4K? Maybe we're even about 4K followers, and I've never been viral ever. And even at the time that he approached, I barely had 2,000 people following me for whatever reason that they were following me for. So it'll be randomers that will hit me up and say, "We love what you've done with your thing. We don't have much money, but we'll fly you over, give you a sofa to crash on if you come and tell our story." And I'm like, okay. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I
So
had no work in London at the time. I barely had any work in the UK, barely any. So a lot of my work was now coming from these other people. So I had a reason to go. And if it wasn't paying much, it still paid something. And then eventually, I guess the more people saw, not even the works I was doing, because the work I was doing would never come out immediately because of whatever was going on their side. But I'd always shoot pictures, right? And it actually kind of started from my friend of mine, who's a writer, JJ Bolla, incredible author, activist, and advocate for men's mental health and mental health in general. He was going to Paris in 2014 for a couple of days. And this is in the day of Twitter when it was still very vibrant, I guess, for our generation anyway. And he tweeted it. And I said to him, "Oh, bro, I'll come." And I was just out of a job at the time. And my bank account said, "Where are you going? You have no money to go anywhere." But he had a Eurostar Connect, so the tickets were cheaper. He said, "Oh, bro, I know I got you, bro. Like, let's go. Like, here's the ticket link." I had 60 quid to my name, man. I had 60 quid to my name. Half of that went on these tickets. Um, and I said to him, "Yo, if I come, do you mind if I just shoot some pictures of you as we go around Paris?" Because I was getting into photography at the time. I think you remember back in the day in the Facebook days, I would post like a few pictures here and there. And that was around that time, just learning my camera. I had no ambition to be a photographer. He goes, "Yeah, no, why not? Like, we'll just chill, whatever." So I went with him. I was there for like 2 or 3 days. He stayed longer. We stayed in this kind of interesting apartment in Paris. And I shot these pictures and I posted some of them on Instagram. And the floodgates opened from there. Like literally, people hit me up like, "Yo, you come here." Even my sister was like, "Yo, you're pretty good. Come with me to Sicily and shoot some pictures for her vlog." I was like, "What do you mean I'm pretty good? Of course I'm good. Like whatever." I did that. You know what I'm saying? Siblings, they're always like,
for sure.
try and, you know, whatever. And yeah, those two things kind of just spiraled everything. And then eventually brands got in touch, or rather other creatives with associations with brands. This one guy that works with Red Bull, um, I've been following him and vice versa for a while. And one day he hit me up and said, "Look, bro," this is after the first time I'd gone to South Africa for a job. I come back. He said, "Hey, bro, I've got this. There's a Red Bull music festival happening in Johannesburg. I'm meant to do it, but I can't do it. I want to put your name forward." I was like, "What? I don't even know this guy." 2 weeks later, I'm on a plane to Johannesburg shooting the festival, little documentary pieces for Red Bull. And you know what I'm saying? Like people just reached out. Like there's no explanation. I didn't know anyone in these spaces, bro. I didn't know anyone. I had no affiliation. I knew people already in that space that I was aspiring to be like,
Yes.
but I had no email, no nothing. I was just getting these DMs that would result in these jobs. So the commercial work and independent work, the commercial came from the independent.
Yeah.
Me doing my own things, then community people around the world saying, "Come and do that for us." Then that being something that was like a proof of concept to these brands because, "Oh, you've been there before, so we can send you." Or you know how to get through to the people, so we could send you. And I guess um there were never any repeat clients, mind you. Not because I've done anything wrong. It's just, done, and move on to the next person. None of them ever well paid, ever. Never paid my worth, and I didn't know my worth at the time. But as I started to grow, I was like, yeah, I'm getting shortchanged here. This ain't right. But that's documentary for you as well. Documentary doesn't always. It's not where you go to make money.
Yeah.
Brand or not, it's not where you go to make money. Even though brands do have money, they're just cheap.
It's just
Okay,
for the
they're cheap.
shareholders, right?
You know, and that's to your point. It can be about the let's tell the story so we can buy in our audience, right? Sometimes it can be that. And I think in the world of branded content, ever since branded content became a thing, oh man, that was the death of advertising for me, because there was a time when it was just commercial work. Now it's, oh no, we haven't got much money, it's only branded content. That still sounds like a commercial.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
why does it mean it's worth less money because it's only going on social media? It's
Yeah.
still a commercial. You know what I'm
Yeah, yeah,
saying?
100%.
Like,
Yeah,
it shouldn't change anything.
yeah.
So well, I came up in that era. We came up in that era, you know what I'm saying? Of,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah,
from
yeah.
commercial to branded content, you know, to social ads. Like, it's the same thing. Still run us the check. But, you know, when you're also a freelancer that's not making much money, you kind of have to take the jobs, you know? So I don't do much of that anymore. Not because it's below me, only because I know what my focus is now. And I want to tell great stories. I also want to do meaningful work. I've also passed my proving ground stage. I don't have to do that anymore. And I'm more than happy to now connect it to other people that deserve that opportunity, that could also shine, you know, because I used to be a run and gun shooter. I could do everything. Still can, but, you know, but now I'm like, actually, my focus is writing and directing. Let me stick there. So yeah, that's how it kind of came. My work, then that being something that was good for other people, and then that leading to the commercial, which I didn't know. That was not a path that I was ever told would lead to that. Education never taught me that. My own community never taught me that. But the more it happened, the more I saw the pattern and said, oh, interesting. Yeah. So that, I hope that answers
No, no, it does. Yeah. It's
yeah, your question.
it's an incredible journey you've had, man. Like, I don't know many people. Maybe there are some now, but like, there's back then anyway. There weren't that many people who were like, I guess, being seen like that and then being put into those spaces just based off of like passion projects. It definitely happens a
Oh
lot more
no,
now
yeah.
because of the way social media works. But
Oh
yeah,
no,
it's
for sure.
interesting.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
man. Like the I feel like in our way, our generation walked on social media, so crawled on social media, so the new one can walk now and run.
yeah, yeah, for
For
sure.
real. Like, if I know if I was doing what I was doing then now,
Mm,
oh
be a
my
different
goodness,
space. Yeah,
I'd be in a completely different space, you know. So I sometimes have misgivings about, were we too early?
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, because, but at the same time, I'm like, well, it's where I cut my teeth, you know. So I'm actually very grateful to not have
Mm,
the social media pressure, the viral pressure,
yeah, yeah.
because then maybe I wouldn't have been as organic in my process and
Mm,
interactions with people. Because, you know, when you do branded content, a lot of people can go in communities, take and leave. I'm very, very wary of community, of like, am I respecting you? Do you feel seen, heard? Like, to be a documentary filmmaker, you have to gain trust quite quickly to get the story, you know, like the real story. So you have to be a good person, you know. And I think being an athlete at the times that we were, where we would literally be interacting with people from so many different backgrounds
yeah,
through the love of the same thing.
yeah, yeah,
And that in some ways, maybe you have a different opinion. In some ways, it almost removed a class system within our community in some ways, where it was like, we all love this art. Fair enough, there are
yeah,
some who are egoists, right?
yeah,
But at the core, there was this, like, we love this sport. So
yeah,
we're
100%.
gonna traverse the same walls. We're gonna do the same monkey walk. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're still
Yeah, yeah.
in there
Well,
together.
yeah,
You know?
100%. Yeah, I feel like the younger generation have become a lot better at breaking down those walls than we were, because they were still some elitist walls when we were going about
I mean,
doing a
yeah.
lot more things.
I
Yeah,
mean, there's no rain without clouds, right? So like
Of course. Yeah,
there's
yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you're right, but it's like there was a unifying thing. Like remember the days when we would walk in central London on a train station and be able to tell that there's a parkour athlete by their Kalengis. If you wore
Yeah.
Kalengis, you are definitely,
There's a different
you know,
times, man. Different
you know what I'm
times.
saying? Like you could just tell
Yeah.
like you're an athlete and that you bonded immediately. Like you're like,
Yeah.
yo, like it's that. And I want to be able to have that effect with people when I travel to their community, to their villages or whatever. Be like, find that commonality and be like, yo, and that builds the trust that we grow from. Even if I never see you again, by God's grace, it's like Joladé was respectful. He was a good guy. If I ever see him again, he's welcome here, type thing. That matters to me more than the story I'm trying to tell. You know.
For sure. Of course. No, that's it's really interesting to hear. I've got two questions.
Mm,
You mentioned your friend JJ Bola. Is he the
mm.
same one that wrote the Mask Off book for men's mental health? Oh, incredible, man. That's man, you
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
introduce me one day. I've got a copy like
Yeah,
right,
I
it's
haven't
in the
even seen
library.
him. I haven't even seen him in years.
Yeah.
But I still hold him in high esteem. And I messaged him the other day when I saw something that reminded me of him. But
Mm.
I've known him since before those books. Like we go back through the poetry scene because we're both poets.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how we got to know each other. Both shared the love of music. That shaped us a lot growing up, and great guy. So yeah, if I see him again, I'll tell him about you. Like I got a friend that wants to meet you.
Yeah, yeah,
And we can make it
definitely. Please
happen,
do.
bro. Yeah, man,
Yeah,
for sure.
100%. I'd love to meet him. Yeah. His book was I think I found it at a time where I think I needed to find it. I needed to read what he was saying.
Mm,
There was a lot of
mm,
confusion about being a person of color and being a young man growing up, and I think it
got
was
you.
just really, really helpful to me, But
Man,
yeah,
he'd love to
incredible
hear
guy.
that because he'd love to hear that because like even till now, when I see him post and stuff, he's someone that has always just had a voice for people and wanting to like talk the truth. He's someone for me that like I will say it now. He tries and succeeds to bringing truth to power, um, in the right way. So I'm glad to hear that his works have touched you in that way, man. Like, yeah,
Yeah, incredible stuff.
it's a guy.
Um,
Mm.
I'm definitely gonna move on to the poetry at some point, but,
No
before we
worries,
get
bro.
onto
No
that,
worries. Man.
you spoke about, like, building trust with the people you're working with to be able to tell their story
Mm.
authentically. How do you even go about doing that? Because usually there can be a language barrier or there can just be,
Yeah,
like, racial
yeah,
barriers at times even, there
yeah,
could be a lot of
yeah.
obstacles in your way. How have you gone about being so good at building that trust? Because I think a lot of the work that you've done has been incredible, from the outset. Like,
Mm.
watching it, I really feel that connection and really feel that
I
understanding.
appreciate that. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you, man. And again, you know what? I give credit to the parkour community again. One of my earliest experiences of really having to test if I'm not biased against races, because sometimes there's unconscious bias, right?
Of course, yeah.
Well, you think you're cool with everyone until you're now only in a certain environment with a certain group of people. And parkour is what helped me to like confront that. Because I said I'm cool with everyone. And I know I am, and I think still was then. But I remember there was a particular person, a particular wee beastie that came into our lives, right? Alongside his chaperone, the legendary and the legendary Robbie Griffith. And Robbie would come down often with his dad as well, Pete. No, Jim. Yeah, great guy. And big up Jim. Like I messaged him the other day, but I think he's got a different number. But like, yeah, Jim changed a lot for me because I don't know how we started to get close. Me, Robbie, I think we all kind of got close. We just hang out. But after a while, he started to hit me up and say, "Look, my son really wants to take parkour more seriously. Can you come over to Coat Bridge and film some videos for him doing his thing?" And then eventually, he even sent me abroad with Robbie
Mm.
to like 40 LOM jam
Yeah, yeah.
for the whole movement. Yeah, in The Hague. And I chaperoned him and some of the Motors boys at the time. Um, but not only that, I would often stay with him at Coatbridge. Like he would say, "I'll fly, like come just hang
Yeah,
out for the
yeah.
weekend and chill." I'm not used to that. I'm a black man, right? The thing is, my neighbors, they've moved. Like my neighbors are 30 years. And I have pictures of when I was a baby that I'd have sleepovers with them. So I was like, you know, as a baby, you don't see color. It's like, these are my friends. But as you get older, and then your community just looks more like you, you still think you're cool for everyone, but your majority is just your people, right?
Yeah.
Being brought into their home in the way that I was like, I wasn't unnerved. I was very comfortable, and I was like, they reached out to me. There were other filmmakers they could have reached out to, the problem with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there
It's
was a
true.
rapport that we had. There's a character rapport that we had that brought me into their home, and I felt like a part of the family. Like, you know, Robbie, even his brother, like, it was never a thing. Like, you know, you can have my room, we're gonna go into town, get food, chilling with the Coatbridge lot. That for me, I think was like the start of the whole thing of like bridging gaps. Where yes, I knew I was the only black in the village, technically, in regards to when I go to
Yeah.
Coatbridge. The other black people in
Definitely.
Scotland,
Definitely that.
definitely, you know, but like I was like, I didn't feel othered. I was calm. It did like, you know, and I think being able to just have that rapport with them made me feel like, okay, made me think about it when I traveled of like, okay, how do I just get into it? Like the Scottish don't beat around the bush. They get straight down to brass tacks. You know, there's none of this like, oh, tiptoeing around you in case you think we're weird. They're just gonna be themselves. And that also made me be myself. So when I'm traveling, it's the same thing of like, yo, I'm Joladé, nice to meet you. But also relying on collaboration. So if I know there's a gap, I'm bringing a team or someone to help me fill that gap. If I can't speak the language, I want to lean on someone that does to help them, you know, to help me bridge that gap. If it's like a thing of like, oh, here's how you live. All right, cool. I'm gonna live in the same way. Like, you know, let's get into it. You know, I don't put myself at odds with what it is unless it's completely problematic. You know, I don't put myself at odds because this is your life. It's your world. I'm just a guest. You know, I have to assimilate in some ways. So I think that really helped me, and I just kept leaning into it more and more and more. And again, it's the parkour world. Like we had the French, the Americans, the Middle Eastern, like we had so many people come to London. And
Yeah.
within an hour of meeting, you're like, yo, we're friends for life because we both broke the same jump.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
For sure.
like
Yeah.
people wish they could have those kind of relationships like that. People wish, you
Yeah.
know, people have to
It.
bond over beers. They have to like
Mm,
get drunk.
yeah. Yeah. It was a special
Like I
time.
get
It was a real special time.
a special time. So yeah. And I
Yeah.
think even in our team at the time in PK Gender DAP, like very diverse. It
Yeah.
DAP was very diverse,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and it was made a safe
That's
space.
developing athlete program for anyone who
Oh yeah,
doesn't
sorry, yeah,
doesn't
the
know.
development effort program. But it was made a safe space also by the predecessors in some of them anyway. Like, you know, rest in peace, Brian. You know,
Yeah.
Yao as well is in his way. Dom, you know, James Gore. Like we had people that in a way were like, oh, you can look like that and be a part of this and still be yourselves. Like Yao was quintessentially still is himself.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
You
Yeah. Big
know,
up, yeah.
and big up Yao. You know, so it's like Yao was another teacher of ours, coach of ours in the parkour gender. So like seeing all those people and how they would interact, rendezvous, international gatherings, you know, it made me find ways to bond quickly. And also when we became coaches as well, you're coming into a class, you you have to find a way to relate to a student in some way that makes them feel they can trust you, right? So I think the coaching helped too. That the coaching definitely helped.
Definitely.
I don't think
Yeah.
it was intentional that it taught us that, but you have to
Good
admit it
byproducts.
definitely taught us. Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely taught us a way
Definitely.
to like these kids that don't know us, they're probably used to another coach. We've got them for 2 hours or something. So we need to like find a way to get them to trust us when we tell them they can do this jump. You know. So yeah, I think all those things in a weird way just built the foundation for me being able to um just do what I do, man. Honestly.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, that's cool. Yeah, I don't think I ever really like think about my parkour life like that, to be honest. But yeah, I guess it obviously is helpful, and it obviously is a huge part of who I am. Even though
Mm.
it got to a stage where I just don't like even speaking about it anymore. But
No, I know. We don't have to get
yeah,
into that for, you know,
yeah,
for the sake of well-being. So I'm with you,
sure.
bro. So I apologize if any mention of it might be bringing up any.
No, no, it's all good for me.
It's comfort, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, it's all good. It's all good. And yeah, like big up all those people that we met and interacted with. Like they were each and every one of them has helped affect our lives in the way we are today. So,
Mm.
and we still connect with some of them. So, there is that
Not
too.
for real. For
Um,
real. For real.
but yeah, I think going back to your history and your upbringing, you obviously brought up in the UK and then you went back to Nigeria when you were quite young.
Mm.
Um, I think you went to a boarding school out there as well, from what I remember. Um, and then you came back to UK when you were like 15, I believe. I
Well,
could be wrong.
13. About
13.
13.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So like, yeah, what was that experience like for you? How did that help inform your
Mm.
creative journey and your creative path? Because like I have no idea what it's like growing up in Nigeria. I guess I can have
Yeah.
similarities with Pakistan, but I mean, I never really grew up
Mm.
there. So yeah,
No, I hear you. I think there's a relativity, the universal relativity in all of us, for sure. Well, did it shake me? Hell yeah. Can't say it was a willing shaping. I hated boarding school when I was there. I hated it, man. I wanted to bust case. I was like, get me out of here, man. Like, this is not for me. But it shaped me definitely. I think being around people that just looked like me everywhere. That was something I'd never had. You think you have it because it's in your family, right? But when you're walking everywhere and it's like, oh, wait, and there's a whole continent of us. Like, what? Like, I didn't know about. You know what I'm saying? It's like, Ghana, what's that? Like, you're hearing about all these things and seeing all the cultures and yeah, it shaped me a lot in terms of just showing me where I'm from. But also, I guess, showing me that I have a choice in the culture that I want to choose for myself because I was at odds with my culture, being raised in London first and going there. I wasn't accepted by a lot of people over there. They're like, oh, you're not Nigerian, not really. And then also when I came back to London afterwards, oh, you're not London, you're a freshie. And it's like, okay, I can't win. I'm just gonna figure out a way to be myself. So I still claim that I'm Nigerian, just in the way that I deem for myself, and it just is the case because a lot of my mannerisms are definitely Nigerian. So it's in the blood, I guess. But it shaped a lot of me around storytelling as well. My culture I'm sure like yours, is very steeped in stories. In how we store our histories and articulate them. And it might be in the clothing and the food and in the music. It's everywhere. And when I was there, I spent a lot of time in books. Where I grew up, there wasn't a lot of electricity compared to some of the other people in my family that had it a bit more well off. So all I had were books. All I had were books. All I had were books. Not because I only wanted books, but that's because all I had. And in a great way, I loved them. So I read everything, from novels to my mother's law books to John Grisham to I read everything that was there, and I guess it just made my imagination go to work. Of like, now that I read everything, what could I come up with? And music as well. I grew up in a lot of music. We had a record player. I think it belonged to my grandfather. And it was in our place. So whenever there was light, I'm playing records. I'm playing all these old school records that were there, Kool and the Gang and all this other stuff. So I had a huge penchant for like music, especially like old school and hip hop. We grew up in that era.
of
So all
course.
those things really, yeah, you know what I'm saying? The good old days, man. The good old
Yeah,
days. Uh,
yeah.
yeah. So those things really shaped me. And then being outside, because when there was no electricity and I read enough, what else was there to do? I'm outside. I'm running around with the kids in the estate or in boarding school. We're outside when there's no class, right? It's like survival of the fittest in boarding school for sure. Really tough times, where we're climbing if we're hungry and we didn't get our lunch because someone stole it or whatever. We're climbing mango trees, which is a very visceral thing to think about now. Like I had that kind of childhood, which is mad, considering that I came from the UK to there. You would often believe that that's a childhood that comes from people that only know that and then come here. But I had to grow into that. Like go climbing mango trees to eat mangoes that weren't always ripe, but you're hungry, so it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
You're having your scraps and you're having to find your own political system within that framework of adolescence. Law of the strong, that kind of thing. Um, You know, it was tough. It was very tough, but it shaped me, man, because it meant that when I came back to the UK in the early 2000s, you know, London was a rougher place back then. As just, you know, yeah, yeah. So, and I'm from Hackney. And I still live in Hackney. I still love Hackney. Hackney will always have my heart. As much as people would shade it then and still now, I'm like, oh, you're from the Murder Mile. I'm like, I've never heard anyone call that. You know, I've only ever heard that on the news. So why does everyone else outside of Hackney call it the Murder Mile and we just call it Ents? You know, it was rough, but I think the upbringing I had kind of made me not lose myself to a certain degree when I came back. So, you know, I still call the estate that I live behind home. All my friends like it. It's home, you know. But I was able to say, you know what, I'm not gonna do what you might gonna do. I'm gonna see you lot later. It's love though. You know what I'm saying? Like stay safe and that, but you know what I'm saying, this is as far as I go, type thing. And it just became like this backdrop in terms of like I guess for the things I was writing. Poetry wasn't there at the time. Poetry came when I was maybe about to start uni. It was more coming out as stories first. Just writing stories. Then when I got to college, uh the hip hop fan I became even more so then, getting into like my most Steph era and all that stuff.
That's
You know, I went deep, man. I went deep into Black Star and every other group that you can think of. I was writing raps, but I could never rap. I wasn't trying to either anyway. I was writing raps. And then when I got to uni, when you know when you turn 18, you sort of hit like a mid teenage or you know, crisis of life of like, what is the point of everything? You know,
yeah, for sure.
and then
The
poetry came from
existential.
that. Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah, yeah.
I think it was like this is ages ago. I think this was we were in Westfield at the time, like in I believe it was in the White City one, and you and I were talking, and you were like, yeah, it was. I think it was your cousin, and your cousin was just like, yeah, you can't rap, like just do some poetry instead. I think it was just you telling me that story, be like, oh, okay, it's how it happened, yeah.
Yeah. I now remember that story. That's crazy. Yeah, yeah. No, for real. That's true. That's true stories, man. True stories. I just do poetry and yeah, like again, unintentional how poetry came. I didn't look to start writing it. It just I didn't even know it was that until someone I mean, or rap is poetry too, I guess. So in some ways it
Of
was like,
course.
yeah, but then you know, it kind of grew through all the
Mhm.
different like things I got involved in to now what it's becoming in the contemporary sense, but still very much from the place of like, I'm just talking about my life. I'm talking about us, you know, and yeah, you know, it worked. It worked to just help me figure out what was going on here, and here, and it was a lifesaver, definitely, man. Because you know, a lot men at the time we were growing up, especially, I feel like I don't know what we would. I don't know. I don't want to keep bringing it up, but I don't know what we would have done if we didn't have parkour, bro.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It was a big time filler for sure, 100%. Like, I don't know what I would have been doing if I wasn't doing that all the time, you know?
Trust the fact that we were
Yeah,
meeting up a couple times a week. I couldn't wait to get out of my house to go. You know what I'm saying? And I think poetry was like an extension of that. Of like, okay, when I can't go out to because when you're training, you're not thinking about what's in here. In fact, you can't wait to find a scary jump because you want it to replace whatever you were dealing with in there. You know,
yeah,
so
yeah, for
poetry
sure.
became like an extension of that in terms of like, okay, finding a way to get it out, and it's there now. You know, and it would do its own thing. But I can't say I chose to be a poet, man. I don't want to be cool and say it chose me, but I didn't choose to be a poet. It was never an ambition. More often than not, I actually hate it because I'm like, I love poetry in terms of what it can do and the art form, but I hated it for a long time because I'm like, it's like you self-diagnose through poetry, but it does nothing to heal you of what you're going through. And you're so good at diagnosing, and people are like, "Oh my god, that's amazing." I'm like, "I'm glad you like it, but it's not
Yeah, yeah,
helping me right now." You
yeah,
know, it's like,
for sure.
okay, cool. Like I can help you figure out your thing, but I'm the one that still have to live in the thing. You know, like what gives? Type thing, man. But yeah, so yeah, man. That the upbringing And definitely poetry was a thing. I think in a way, poetry was helping me deal with what I went through in Nigeria. Definitely. I think it was a way to process a lot of trauma that, um, yeah, like I didn't know was having an effect on me. So again, back to being grateful that I had things like parkour and mostly the community, to be honest, because it was an escape, right? Like, young boys and girls, we're gonna go and just leave our crew, sitting on floors in public and eating our food and not giving a damn what anyone else says. Because it's like, yeah, man, I'm around my people, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely a special time. Yeah, I think,
yeah,
you were very lucky to be in that, when it was around,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
But, um, I wanna talk about, some of your projects now, if that's
yeah,
okay.
man, yeah, man.
Let's start well, I'll bundle the questions up together so we can just kinda go riff off of them. But,
No, it's right.
yeah, the Samuel L. Jackson project, like, it was, I think it's called Enslavement. Like, what was that?
Yeah.
How did that happen? What was going on about that? And, like, how did that
Jeez.
even, like, take place? What time was
Okay.
it? What year? And then, also your project on Sudan, like, just, I'd love to hear more about that, what was going on then at
Yeah,
the time.
yeah. What, when, why, and how? It's
Yeah,
three,
yeah,
right?
all of the above.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got you. I got you. So those two projects happened the same year,
Oh, wow, okay.
2019,
Mm,
and I believe they were back to back.
mm, brilliant.
Yeah, but not related.
Yeah.
Um, so the Samuel Jackson one that one threw me. It threw me for six, man. And when I tell you, I was like, got the emails like, this has to be spam. This is not for me. This is not real. Um, how I got it, again, nothing I did. Nothing I did. No one I know. Literally. Someone had seen some work I'd shot in Kenya. I'd done a documentary in Kenya in 2017. Um, uh, for a friend who wanted to rediscover her roots. She's from there, and her father was one of the earliest archaeologists from Kenya.
Oh, wow.
But he was never credited in his findings because he worked under a white archaeologist who took the credit. So she wanted to go back and kind of like, yeah, I know. So she wanted to go back and tell the story. So I was filming that for her. But when I was there, I was also shooting a lot of images because wherever I go, my camera goes, right? So I had posted some of the images online, and that's how this production crew in Canada found out about me because I think the client I went with to Kenya, she knew someone, and this person saw the images, and I think she became aware of this production crew. Maybe she's friends. I think she's friends with one of the producers, and I think maybe they were looking for a photographer to bring on to the job for Enslaved. A series photographer, well, just for the leg of Gabon where we went. And she was like, oh, this guy. So she sent them the Kenya photos, and then they emailed me and said, hey, we've seen your work in Kenya. That's what threw me off. I'm like, how have you seen the work in Kenya? Like, I haven't really put it anywhere, but someone we know. And when they said the name, I was like, oh, I recognize that name. That name was someone that's liked my images from Kenya before. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, what are the odds? And then I remember after I got the email, um, we had conversations, I got the job. I remember being in the cinema because there was a Marvel film that came out that he was in as Nick Fury at the time. I remember sitting in the cinema thinking, I'm about to be shooting this guy in a couple of weeks. This is insane. This is insane. And yeah, and I went and I was just a photographer for the series, so they needed someone to shoot like BTS images of the production and of Sam doing his thing because he also had found out he has Gabonese heritage. So it was a very important time to be there because I was now documenting his introduction to his people, because he found out he's from one of the tribes there. So it was an incredible time just to be there and meet him. He's a great guy, got to chill with him and stuff, talk to him like every day, like chilling, like really, really, really calm guy. Master at his work. He wasn't acting, so it was because of documentary. So, but you could just tell that, yo, yeah, yeah, you're him, essentially. You're him.
Yeah, yeah.
But very down to earth and cool. It was surreal. I got there before him because we had to be ready to receive him there. and stuff. And I think I was in my hotel room, just like, what is life? 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 Like, what's going on? But then something in my spirit just told me, relax. Like, this ain't even all that. And not in an arrogant way. It's like, this, like, yeah, it's great, but it's not even the pinnacle, man. Like, don't sweat it. Just do what you're good at. That's what they told me. It said to me, because I was like, oh, what do I need to do? And like, am I good enough? And they're like, just do what you do best, because we like your work so far. Just do your thing. And I said, say Lux, and I did that, and there's no greater comfort than knowing that what you do is good enough. And it is, you are good enough. You don't need to change up because there's now a higher celebrity or something. So that happened. I was there for about a week and a half, or just about a week. I was meant to go on with them to Ghana. They were thinking about it, but they couldn't afford to keep me on. But I think I had served my time. I'd done the job had served its purpose. And ironically, that job helped me land a documentary job a couple years later, only because, so I was doing photography on that job, right? I'm a director in my own right and stuff, but I didn't mind being a photographer. It was cool. The crew were great, all Canadian. I still stay in touch with some of them to this day. Great. It was a 4-man camera team that was meant to be a 2-man camera team. They were meant to have 2 backup cameras. The director, incredible lady, Rick Beanstalk, she wanted all 4 cameras to be shooting at once everywhere we went,
Oh,
which was
right. Okay.
insane.
Mm.
Insane. Insane. Now, a couple years later, I get approached by this lady who was like, I'm submitting a bid to FIFA. They want to commission films in Africa ahead of the World Cup, documentary stories. And I love your work, and I'd love for you to help me write this pitch. I'm like, am I sure? Cool. Now, that job became so useful because everything I witnessed of those guys on that job became what enabled me to do that FIFA job across Africa with all these teams. Because I'm like, I've seen this in action. I know I know what to do here. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes the job is never about the job. It's always, it's like what it's preparing you for. Now, the Sudan job, a friend of mine, Philip Rahim, incredible photographer and artist. I believe he's got Sudanese heritage himself, even though he's majority Nigerian. I think his father's Nigerian and his mom might, I don't know. He's got the heritage. Anyway, he hit me up. I'd done this job for Samuel Jackson in maybe July of that year. And then Philip hits me up probably from before that. I want to do this documentary in Sudan because of the Sudanese revolution that happened around the time. He said she wants to go and tell the stories of these ladies who are leading this revolution. It's very important to him. He wants to tell the story. And he wanted me to come. I said, yeah, no worries, bro. I'd be honored to tell this story. Like, count me in. And he was looking to pitch it to We Present, the We Transfer holding company, because they have a platform for stories and stuff. A couple months went by, and then he hit me up in October. Yo, we got to go ahead. We're going in a week. I said, okay, let's go. And so, and one-man team. So I say one-man team in the sense of I was directing and shooting and lighting and everything. He flew in a set designer friend who I know to come and because the concept was, you saw the film, like the backdrops, they were there for 24 hours. So
Wow.
the one doing an interview, her name's Chantel, incredible journalist and writer. She came to do the interview. A makeup artist that came to make sure the girls were, all that good stuff, and the set designer. They were there for 24 hours. Me and Philip were there just for 48 hours in total. So we spent the first day doing the interviews. Sudan was hot. We were in Khartoum or Khartoum. It was hot, 45 degrees. We were dying. It was hot. Filmed the interviews, and then we spent the next day when the team flew out. We arrived the day before the interview, the night before the interview. They flew out the next night. The next day, Philip and I were like, we could get walked around a little bit. We were staying near on the Nile, on the Blue Nile. We had decided that we need B-roll for what they were talking about. But we don't speak a word of the language. How are we gonna get around? We hailed a taxi. The guy couldn't speak a word of English. We just like, we want to film, take us around. He goes, okay, I take you. Let's go. But then he would tell us, put the cameras down when we got around certain areas because of the regime, so he was looking out for us. But then Philip had this great idea to use certain trigger words to elicit a conversation. He said, the revolution? And the guy was like, revolution? And he just kept speaking in his own language. When we got it translated, it became what you saw.
Right.
We
Wow.
had no idea that what he was saying was going to be useful. And even when we saw that protest in city, we jumped out of the taxi immediately. Like, we just had to react to things. We almost got arrested as well by an officer who was in plain clothes. He was
Wow.
like,
Okay.
where's your permit? We're like, oh crap. And he had to bail us out somehow with like an excuse. Cause the guy was like, bring them to the embassy, to the station tomorrow. If you don't, I'm coming for you. And I said, don't worry, I'll get you out of here. So like, it was a high risk job, very high risk, for obvious reasons in regards to what these ladies were talking about, and the state was very peaceful when we were there. There was a lot of, I won't lie, personally, there was a lot of, like, I've only ever heard of Sudan in the news, they make it sound it's war. But I was like, nah, I'm gonna go anyway. I did tell my mother until I went, because I was like, I'm not gonna,
Yeah. Don't want to start
she
that
lives in
conversation.
Nigeria. You know what I'm saying? Like, she lives in Nigeria, so it's like, at least you're too far away for you to even tell me I can't go. But when I got there, and I was like, this reminds me of Nigeria in the 90s. Like, it's cool. The people were lovely. But it was a very gut-wrenching story to hear from the mouths of these ladies. And I felt, to this day, I still feel privileged to have been able to tell the story, and that it had an effect in the way that it did. When people reached out and said, thank you. I was like, you ain't gonna affect me. Like, I just, held the lens, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's the women. These women really did the thing. And I think also for me, going into another culture I've never been in before, another part of the world, still Africa, but like, it's the East, but still different. And they made me pay attention, if that makes sense, of like, okay, look, there is a world, because I've also been to Palestine. I went to Palestine in 2017 for a job. At the time I called it Israel, and I got a lot of people in my DM saying, yo, bro, we can't do that. And I was like, what have I missed? I didn't know anything.
Sure.
I've only known as Israel through the news. Yeah, and I'm like,
I think
Palestine,
we
like,
were there the same year. I think I went the same year as you.
fair enough. Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
mad.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think I went in the August of that year too.
I think we were probably
Um,
there around a similar time,
Most
because
likely, I was
I
going
would have been
across
there
different
during
parts.
Ramadan.
Okay, fair enough. And
Yeah.
I think when I was there is when I became again aware of like things like, okay, why, I have friends who are like, bro, like, I'm supporting you, man. Like, why would you call it Israel? I'm like, I didn't know. I didn't know. I've learned. And so even when I see the news around it now, also, I'm still like, I've been, and I saw things when I was there. I was like, this is weird. This is weird as hell. And I feel it even more because I've been there, if that makes sense. Even with Sudan, there was another revolution that happened not last year, I think the year before. And I was like, I wonder how those ladies are doing. Like, I wonder how those people are doing. Like, you can't tell documentary stories and disassociate. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a job to, like, again, I don't get paid enough. And I don't mean that in the sense that, I'm doing this for the money. But I don't get paid from documentaries. Like, I really don't. Like, they don't pay me enough to do anything, really. So I know why I take these stories is because I'm interested. And I always leave with like I can't forget this. I've learned something today, and my eyes are on them now.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like it's not just news to me. It's like, what's going on? All right, cool. This ain't cool. This ain't right. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I guess because I'm not from that culture, it's like me and locks. I'm not Jamaican. I'm not Caribbean. I got locks. So I just wanted to grow out my hair. But the minute I started seeing Jamaican elders around me salute me in certain ways, I was like, oh wait, hang on a minute. Let me be mindful now. There's something here, that I need to be mindful of. I don't want to be a culture vulture. Locks are not symbolic alone to people from the Caribbean, for sure. However, in this part of the world, the UK at least, there is significance to them because they're the major shareholders of this culture, Rastafarianism, which I'm not from, but it's like mindfulness. So a black man from West Africa, also diaspora, and going to Sudan to tell a Sudanese story, I need to have the nuance of respect in there of like, all I'm doing is pressing record. They own the story, you know? And even the guy, the driver, I made sure we didn't reveal his identity.
Of course, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're only seeing him in hindsight. What I should have done, I didn't think about this, and I hope he's okay because I don't see how he would get in any trouble. But what I should have done is probably find a way to cloak his voice. You know, in hindsight now I'm thinking about, yeah, maybe I should have altered his voice, type thing. So again, it's that level of respect of like, there was a documentary that came out in years ago, and it was telling the stories of interpreters who helped the US Army when they were there in the Middle East from the war, because they needed interpreters, right? The filmmaker went and the interpreters told him, please, when you get back to the States, please like mask our faces and stuff. And he said, yes, I will do that. And he meant it. He meant it. He got back. The commissioner said, yeah, nah,
Wow.
put the film out. And you know what happened next?
Yeah, obviously. It doesn't take a genius to work that out.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm even more, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have to be so careful. I've had to be so careful when going to certain places and I'm having to like tell stories. It's like, no, this. Sometimes it means I say no because I'm like, this is too big for me. Like this is, like we've seen it in the news. And I can't remember his name. The journalist, uh, is it Hassan? What's his name? Yeah, yeah, him. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's
So,
it could be tough. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big thing for sure, definitely. Like, I mean, yeah, respect to all the people who do that kind of work. Yeah.
For real. So it's not glitz and glamour. When people think I've been living the life, I'm like, you have no idea. These stories are not the viral stories. Yes, I've done a few commercial ones, like with ID and Chanel, and even that still is still quite precious because it's like we know Chanel's the one behind this,
Mm.
but I'm not going to allow Chanel to be the reason why these people are not well represented.
Yeah, of course. No, I
Like
mean, that's great.
like yes, I'm a black filmmaker that's been to Senegal before, but it doesn't mean I'm going to let you now turn this into a commercial grab because Senegalese are very vocal about how they feel about Chanel. you know, um, so yeah, you can take the other edit if you want, but you can't say it was me that took it out.
Yeah, no,
It's
for sure.
yeah, type thing. But yeah, man.
Definitely. Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting hearing that side of it because, yeah, I mean, I've always kind of, I guess struggled in terms of like who I'm working for, who I'm working with, where I draw the line, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I've gotten to the point where I'm like checking everyone out before I apply for a job on Customs House. I'm seeing who all the shareholders are. I'm seeing who they donate money to. Like, I think it's important to try
Yeah.
and do that as a minimum to do that.
You know
Not
what?
actually even be the high end of the thing, but yeah,
You know what? You're right, and I can't say I was doing any of that back then because again, like
yeah.
it's weird. There's a whole thing of like associate the association between you and the thing, right? For for Whereas now I'm way more conscious because I'm community based. So it's like I turn down. I don't care for commercial work anymore. If it comes, cool. But it doesn't come easy, then I'm fine with it. If it comes, even then I'm like, morally, where does this sit with me in the first place? Yeah, I need money, but I can't trade that up. In some cases I am going back and being like, wait, like for example, the other day I was in Dalston, and I needed a coffee, and the closest coffee shop to the station is a Starbucks. Now, I won't lie to you. A couple months ago, I'd have been like, look, ain't nothing without fault in this world. And I get the boycotts, but like, you know, I need a coffee and, it's pay for these people's wages. And I've seen people that are from this who even work there and I'm not even judging them. And anyways, like, you need a job. I get it. Like, it's what it is. However, as I looked into the Starbucks, I was like, wait, but So what are you gonna do with that information? The Pret is across the road. What will it cost you just to go a bit further to go and get it from there? Yes, fair enough. My not giving them my £3 might not mean anything, right? But
Mm.
I know,
Yeah.
and it's an integrity thing. It's like just
Yeah.
because you can doesn't mean you should. You know, like you can't unknow, you know. And if
Mm.
you don't demonstrate that discipline in this scenario, you will not demonstrate that discipline in the bigger ones.
Yeah, for
You know what I'm
sure.
saying?
100%.
So
Yeah,
it's
no, I
like
agree.
the cost of adulthood, not the entire cost, but one of the costs of adulthood is responsibility. You know,
Mm.
it's like I could, but I'm gonna go here
Yeah.
instead. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. Definitely.
and it's not approving it to anyone. I didn't go online, but yo, I could, but I didn't. It's like no, this needs to be at peace. And if it's not, I'm not taking the job. I'm not taking the money because it means I can be bought, or it means that my needs are much higher than those over there who are going through. And again, you know, that's not. I'm non-partisan in many ways, right? But I'm also like call a spade a spade. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, yeah, for sure. 100%. I get that.
that
Yeah,
thing.
I guess
You know
that's
what
the
I'm saying?
culture you and I kind of grew up with in London, you know. I think people in Croydon are very similar to that. And you know, call it what it is, man. Like there's something around the bush. Let's have a conversation, you know, don't treat me like an idiot, you know, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why you and I love the Scottish so much, you know. Like I like going back to like gym and stuff, it's that brutal honesty that they have, you know.
Yeah,
Or it
it's so
is.
refreshing. And it's like,
Mm,
ah, like you guys are awesome. Like what is it about the
mm.
Scottish? Maybe it's the air. The air's cleaner up there. They're just like, yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah, yeah,
know,
for sure. Yeah,
they get it.
definitely.
Yeah, yeah, man.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I had a really interesting conversation recently because there was an Adobe event happening in LA,
I mean,
in Las Vegas, sorry, actually. Um, I think it happened like on the 20th, so just kind of passed. And one of the
yeah,
speakers was Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan. And
yeah.
this man is like a fucking lunatic, right? I might cut this out of the entire edit, but like this man is like a lunatic. Like he invests in Canadian tar sands, which is like the worst fossil fuel like you could invest in because like the continued
Mm,
like I think climate scientists were like the continued use of this fossil fuel gives our planet a life expectancy of 30 years. 30 years, bro. This man has grandchildren. How's his grandchildren going to survive to live like the next day? It's just like, how is Adobe like a tool that's used by a lot of people generally all around the world who probably will never ever afford the lifestyle that a person like Jamie Dimon has, you know, meant to sit there and listen to this lunatic about stuff. You know, it doesn't make sense. Like, you
that's
know, and maybe
crazy.
Adobe will like cancel my subscription now because I said this and called them out on it. But I think Adobe needs to do way better. They become like some
I mean, I didn't know
yeah,
though. I unsubscribed from a lot of that stuff because the prices and
yeah.
stuff. I'm just like,
Yeah,
I
yeah. I mean
don't.
it is
You're
ridiculous for sure,
you're
100%.
moving mad. Like everyone,
Yeah.
like yeah, but I didn't know that. If not for the fact
Mm.
that I love my photo stuff, I need to edit it on Lightroom and stuff. It's like I would have
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. If
gone
I did
time ago, but yeah,
Yeah, if I didn't need it for work, and I am like learning more alternative sources of software now, just because I
mm,
just want to step
yeah.
away from all of this nonsense.
I feel you. I feel you. That's the thing with like choice. The choice is not always easy, but it's like convenience is what sometimes sells is what sells us sometimes. Like we sell ourselves
Yeah,
for convenience. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I could, but this is really there and it's easier, but it's compromised. Oh, but it's there. It's like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. No.
yeah,
I'm
yeah, I get
conscious of the time, man. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Just before we move on to like the rapid fire questions, I want to speak to you about two things. One is the
yeah, man.
poetry, like
Mm,
how like obviously you've spoken about how it kind of came about and stuff, but how is it for you? Like for me, because I'm quite into poetry. I don't think I can write, so I've never even attempted to. Just
stop it, stop it.
I know
Although,
it's not my thing, right? So it's like but you've performed with some amazing poets like Rupi Kaur, you know, Anthony Anaxaguru, Joelle Taylor. Like these are some like really people who aren't into poetry. This might not mean anything, but like there are some really big, amazing poets. Raymond Attribus, like you know these people, and you know
yeah, Raymond, yeah, yeah.
what they speak about and what just how they can captivate an audience in the room. Like, I
And
mean, it's incredible stuff. If you're not into poetry, like, I'm sorry about the section, but like, it's incredible stuff. You need to go to these outspoken
and
events. We need to see these people perform because they perform poetry in a way that is not the common way. Like, it's not how you learn about it in school. It's not how how people think of poetry. It's so much
no,
more.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, just
yeah.
talk about your experiences, like working with those people. Like, how did you get involved with all of that kind of stuff? Like, how did your poetry grow for you as a creative as well?
Mm. So yeah, incredible names you
Mm,
mentioned, and I'm privileged to know some of them. I don't know if I've ever performed with Rupee though, but I could be
you
wrong.
you
I
did.
don't know if I have.
When I saw you live, you and her shared a stage.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't I don't remember for some reason, but I've been in this one for a minute. So it's, for some reason after the pandemic, things are blurred from before that time. I just says, yeah, I know what it is. But the incredible names and Anthony, I have a lot of respect for Anthony. Um, and all the other names you mentioned. But yeah, so I don't come from the background of poetry they come from. And I say that or the background of poetry that they're in right now, because I don't know where they came from either. So I don't want to speak out of turn. But I would say these are more contemporary poets in the sense of like the world they exist in. And I exist in there too, but also the urban. The urban is where I came from, just the streets, the writing, like there's no form, there's no form, just function. You know what I'm saying? There's just straight writing. And then I got into that side when a friend of mine, her name is Jamelia Wisdom. She runs an incredible charity called Rise and Scribes, of which I'm a board member. They do programs for young people and people in the arts, social mobility, and yeah, great stuff. She had put on, we had just met each other at the time, 10, no, 20, tell a lie, two people. One, her name is Catherine Laberon, and she ran this program called 12 Talents, which they inquired for like poets to apply. They'd be given like a masterclass thing for a while development alongside Nat Nai. Nat Nai is an incredible poet,
Yeah, I know.
Griot and then some. And myself and Sophia Tucker actually were part of that cohort of uh of that. And that started our foray into development of as poets, writing masterclasses that she put us through. So God bless her. She's an incredible writer. She's doing amazing work in the US and the UN and then some now. But she's from London, but she's killing it over there and then some. And then after that, my friend Jamelia put me in. She had this workshop. She invited people to be a part of it. She invited me to come down this writing workshop with this incredible, legendary poetry poet and poetry, I guess, facilitator, Peter Khan from the States. Peter Khan is the man. There are many UK accomplished poets and other person around the world who, if you mention his name, what a guy. And that was my first, technically my first contemporary poetry masterclass where it changed my life as a writer. Where if he gave me some tips around things to kind of try, and boom, I was just curious. And I guess I started to attend more different events. I became aware of like the Outspokens, the Joe dances, and these other poetry organizations that existed in a way that were just different to what I was from. And the more and I was performing a lot of the time, I was doing a lot of shows, open mic gigs and features at the time. And then I entered into this space where it's poetry editing, techniques, you're reading all these other poets' works and seeing ways and like, okay. All right. Okay. And then ultimately, they were helping me find the best way to tell my story or whatever stories I was telling. I got involved in a few initiatives like the Barbican Young Poets, incredible programs by Jacob Samuel Rose, legend in the game, like legend. I also joined Obsidian, all these different initiatives that developed me, Malika's Poetry Kitchen, um, and had a lot of people looking out for me, a lot of people looking out for me and then I won a few prizes from things like Outspoken Poetry 2017. I won some awards from them for my work. And yeah, the community was vibrant, man. It was vibrant. It was, and I got to become friends with a lot of these artists and poets like Caleb Femi, Teresa Lola, Kareem Parkins Brown. Well, Jeremiah Brown. The list goes on. And to this day, we're still friends. We collaborate. Maybe we made films. Yeah, Yomi Shode, all these people who've looked out for me and helped me build. So the pro I am now has grown. I won't say I'm not the same. I say I'm just grown because I'm contemporary, but I'm also the other. You know, and I'm just a poet. I don't really care to be classified as either. So that's how I've grown into this, and to share stages around the world with some of these people, and it's like I've toured with Jasmine Mans and Rudy Francisco. Which yeah, like it's sometimes I forget. And it's been great, man. It's been great. It's been great. It's been
That's
great. And
incredible.
I'm trying to get back out there now because it's been years since
Mm.
I've been in that space. Like I said, pandemic, when that came in, that was gentrification was at its highest too. Spaces just closed down. They were just, you know what I'm saying? So we went from doing 5 gigs, 7 gigs a month to like, you know, it's been months. But I'm trying to get back out there because I'm seeing new ones now. And I really miss being in the space where I get to witness other people doing their thing. And I also might get a chance to do my thing as well. So yeah.
No, I
Mm.
hope you do, man. Yeah, it was definitely
Yeah.
it's definitely incredible watching you. I think it was ages ago. I can't even remember what year it was, but yeah, man, it was incredible to be part of seeing you like do your thing in the room, man.
I
Yeah,
appreciate that, bro. And yeah, even you guys encouraged me as well. Like, the little things we did,
yeah,
at Right when we performed. You know what I'm saying? Like,
mm.
it was nice when those worlds came together as well.
Yeah, 100%.
That was like, oh, okay, sure. Like, you know, but yeah, man, just grateful, Yeah.
For sure.
Mm.
Um, on kind of like a similar topic and similar theme, and I know you touched on it very briefly. Just imposter syndrome, like you mentioned, like, oh, you didn't feel like you should be there when we were talking about the Samuel Jackson shoot. Is it something you still suffer from? Do you not really worry about it anymore? You ever kind of like overcome it, and like what
Yeah,
was your interaction with that?
I don't feel it anymore, man.
Really?
I don't because I'm like, what? I don't know if it's an age thing, where it's like,
Possibly.
bruv. Yeah, it was like, bruv. Like, you know what? You just know you've done your time. Like, and I think also because I've done, like, I wouldn't say I've hit the heights because I'm sure there's more, but I've done the things, brother. Like, I've done the things. You know what I'm saying, like, I didn't get here off the back of the commercial work. I was doing my own thing, and that came. People, I've always prized the work from individuals, and I've done from the commercial. Like, the commercial is like, okay, cool, but it's not like, and I guess when you've done the work, you're like, we did this, but also we do this. So why am I feeling small? And when I was in Nigeria over the Christmas, for a while, visiting family, but I also took the chance to now connect with community there, which I have never done since now that I'm an adult, right? And it was very, very humbling in many ways and great. Meeting people that I've been speaking to online for years and finally like collaborating and doing things was like mind blowing. I met this person for a connect, and she said something that blew my mind. In a way, she said, "It's imposter syndrome because you think it's about you, but it's not about you. It's bigger than you. You think it's all on your shoulder. You think if I don't do it, I'm gonna be the one that makes everything crumble. But it's not about you." And I loved that. I loved that breakdown of it. Like, yeah, it's imposter syndrome because you think it's all. It's, if I'm the reason it has to, if it, you know what I'm saying, and it blew it wide open for me in terms of like people need to hear that.
For sure.
So I
No,
don't,
definitely.
like I don't think I don't have it anymore because I know it's never been me. Everything in my work, everything in my work, Joel, up until this point, and even for the foreseeable, the way I'm trying to make things happen, has always been community based. It's always been collaboration. It might be my name as a director, but you'll be damn sure I've got a whole credit list of people below saying, Think all these people." I hate the fact that directors get the shine, but I know why they get it. Now that I've worked in film, I think I get why they get it because they're the fall guy. They're the fall guy. If nothing works, it all gets pinned on them. Really, the director's not really the one running the show. It's the execs. The execs are the ones running the show. Trust me, I've seen this in real time, and I now know. So even I'm trying to be an exec long term because I'm like, those are the people that get to facilitate from start to finish the vision and the right people for the job. So a director, you don't really have that power. You might say, I want this person, but the execs are the money, they're the clout. The director is, yeah, you're telling the story, but if the exec comes and says, I don't want that shot, it's not happening. That's power. And I don't mean it in a, crazy way. It's more like I need to be in that position so I can collaborate more. So I can really enable and be like, yo, you, let's go. Or even, actually, I don't need to be in this one. You want that person and that person, that person. And you're going to believe what I say because I know what I'm talking about. So I don't have imposter syndrome anymore because I am aware of the fact that I didn't get here myself. I've never done, from the community initiatives that helped me out when I was younger, from the mentors I've had, from the friends I still haven't have had, that have always believed in me and sent me messages, and you know what I'm saying? It's always been an us thing. So to be an imposter when I've never been told to be anything other than what I am is ludicrous. That's just fear. But also I feel maybe you feel like you're an imposter because you don't really want the thing you've been asked to do. Or you're not having to become a fake version of yourself to do it. And performing is tiring. You know what I'm saying? So because I get to be myself everywhere, I don't feel like an imposter anymore. I'm like, yeah, I'm myself. And if you don't want me, cool. You know, so I'd rather be myself. If I can't be myself, then I don't really want the thing. I just, it's not worth having, you know? Yeah. But yeah, I don't have it anymore, man. I don't. But that being said, I hope I never have it again. But, in the same way I got that email, I was like, the hell? Me? Like Samuel Jackson? You know? um, who knows what could come up next? And it's like, are you sure you got the right Joladé? Like,
Can't
saying
imagine there's too many.
it's they're on. But I have to check. You know what I'm saying? I have to check. You
For
know what I'm
sure.
saying? You know?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Cool,
Yeah,
man.
brother.
Yeah. All right. I know this interview has gone on a lot longer than I
It's
anticipated,
cool.
but it's been great to
I'm
speak to
I
you.
love the conversation we're having, bro. I love the
Yeah,
conversation, man.
definitely. It's been a good catch up as well for me, so that's good.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm gonna move on to some rapid fire questions if that's okay.
Yeah, man.
Um,
Yeah, man.
cool. All right. In terms of like music or like consuming media, like film, TV, books, whatever it may be, what kind of stuff are you listening to, watching, reading? Like, let's have it. What are you into?
Cool. So I read a lot of photography books because I'm making my own, but I love collecting them. So a lot of books. So different ones that just pique my interest. I get them. I'm also reading some nonfiction. Right now I'm reading The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, which I've had for years. I'm finally reading it. Music, I love jazz, man. I'm a jazz person. I'm heavy into jazz ever since I went to New Orleans in 2019. I'm hooked. So I listen to a lot of jazz, lo-fi, because lo-fi is a classic chill hop. Come on now. So all of that, jazz and lo-fi, and because I'm an anime nerd, so yeah, anime soundtracks. I'm in there. I'm in there every day. Like, if it's Yuki Hira Yuki's name is or something like that. But yeah, like yeah, great. What am I watching? Different things, man. Short films, random short films online, just things that, like challenge me in a great way of what I want to make. Also watching the new Daredevil series, which is not disappointing. It
Oh yeah,
is not disappointing, bro.
yeah.
They said, all right, we know you love the Netflix version, so we're gonna do you one better. We're gonna elevate it, and they have.
Okay.
It's great. So far I'm loving that, and I'm watching a few other things just to kind of pass time. And what else did he say? What am I watching, reading, listening to? Yeah, I guess that's everything, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's everything. That's
And it,
everything
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Okay. Um, this one might be a harder one for you because I feel like you do so much of this. But if you weren't in the creative field right now, as you are, what would you be doing, bro? Like, just
There's
what?
nothing else.
Yeah.
If there's, and I say that because everything is creative, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Everything is creative. Just to quickly say, I don't believe in there being creatives and non-creatives. Everyone is creative, but some are artists. Okay, everyone is creative. Some are artists, and some are, and everyone's a storyteller because you've got a story to tell. So, but yeah, so to that point, there is no other thing I could be in because everything I'm doing is just creative. But if I was to be as, I guess, for lack of a better word, binary, I would say community work. Bearing in mind what I think my core is, people, I'd be somewhere in community, you know. I was
Yeah.
actually in politics once when I was younger, so who knows? Maybe I would have followed that through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you know.
Cool. Yeah. What non-creative like hobbies are you partaking in at the moment? What kind
Is
of non?
there even such a thing?
Yeah, of course there is.
Give me an example. 'Cause I
I don't
can't think
know,
of one.
like running, climbing, whatever, man. It's your
Those are
question.
all
It's your answer.
those are all creative things. Damn, bro. I creative hobby. I don't, bro. I can't think of anything I'm doing that isn't creative.
Fair, fair,
I'm
fair.
sorry, I can't.
No, no, it's
Like,
all good. It's all good. Well, um, all right. A bit of advice you would you wish someone gave you when you first started. What would it be?
ooh, um, you can do it.
Fair. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah. I
Yeah.
should let you know what I've been hearing most of the time. Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Cool. No,
Yeah.
no, it's good.
Mm.
Final question now. Where do you see our industry or your industry in particular? Because I guess it's so different from mine. Like, where do you see it in the next 5 to 10 years? Because I
Ooh.
don't know if your creative field is having a rough time as mine is currently.
Yeah, it definitely is, man.
Yeah.
It's war outside. It's a war and tumbleweed. I see it imploding. Finally, I see it imploding and giving way to to what deserves to be there. I see true creativity taking over, where it's not under threat from commercial regimes, where it's just we're gonna do it. We're just gonna make what we want to make, and we don't. It's already happening, you know. Like, you know. But I see it becoming, because you've seen it in industry in general, how a lot of like the heavyweights have been crumbling from like from scandals and all these other things, right? That's created space. For me, that's a divine. That's God saying, I'm clearing out the way for what needs to be there, you know, for the right pioneers, you know. So I see it imploding. I see, I don't care about AI. I think things will always happen. Like, AI will stop being a thing. Well, it won't stop being a thing, but AI will stop being a threat when we stop giving it attention in terms of like, oh no, it's like just keep
Yeah.
doing your thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
100%.
you know what I'm saying? Like, industry's gonna do what it's gonna do, but industry reacts to us. So I see it imploding, and I see it, God willing, just full of people doing what they want to do, in a great way, and enabling other people alongside them, saying, "Come, let's do this together." You know, let's do it.
Mm.
You know, that's what I see by God's grace.
Yeah. No. Inshallah.
Inshallah, for real, for real,
Yeah, man.
for real.
Um,
Yeah.
no, cool. I mean, Joladé, it's been a long one, but thank you so much for coming on board and talking about your experiences and everything you do, because I think it's just so fascinating and so incredible. If our guests want to follow you or find you or just give you a shout, where's the best place they could do that?
Um, you can you you can DM me and I'll try to respond, because I usually delete the app from my phone a lot, so I'm not always on there. So
Fair.
DM me at, Joladé, Jolado, or email me at info@joladé.com, and if I have any gigs coming up or any workshops or community stuff, please come attend. I like talking to people. I really do. But my bro, it's been a pleasure to be on this conversation with you. It's been
Yeah,
years. I'm gonna see you
took
physically
too long.
very soon. We
I
should
hope so,
definitely
man.
do that.
Come
We
meet the little
definitely do
one.
that. Yeah, no, bro. Yes, yes. I'll give you the biggest hug and her the biggest hug, and you miss the biggest hug too.
For sure.
But thank you for having this conversation. And there's things you even reminded me of that. I'm like, holy, that happened. Like, wait a
Yeah,
minute.
for
So
sure.
thank you for reminding me, because, and also for cultivating the space as
Yeah,
well, because that too is a generous thing that you're doing in spite of yourself. That is an enablement that you're doing. So like, for real, God bless you, bro. It's very generous of you,
appreciate it.
and I'm
Thank
glad
you.
to have had this time with you, for real.
Me too, man. It's been incredible.